Good morning, hello, welcome again, dear listener. This is Lions, and you have found Raven Insight, a little place on the internet where we like to come as friends and companionship to discuss the road, the journey to higher consciousness. And you all get to watch me, your humble test subject, go through the process right in front of your eyes. I'm really happy that you decided to spend some time with me here today. I am just so full of energy. Like, I have been so negative for so many years, and I've been so in the dumps for so many years, and I've been so lost for so many years, not knowing who I am. And as silly as it may sound, because these are just YouTube videos, and I know I've only got 4 subscribers, but thank you to those who have subscribed, and thank you for coming back. It's how you grow a channel, it's how you grow the message, and each and every one of you makes a difference, and it's the world to me. So, like, comment, subscribe, interact, all that good stuff. Have a conversation. Use what I'm saying as a launching pad for conversations with your friends, when you're having issues in your life. And when you start a channel like this, you worry that you're going to run out of content. It's like, well, I've said the main things I want to say, but like every minute of every day, it's just more ideas just start flowing into my mind like a fountainhead, and I can't explain to you the peace, the bliss that you get when you reach alignment with yourself. And as crazy as it may be, as crazy as it may seem, as fantastical and magical as it may sound, it's real. And there is real magic in this world. It's just you have to know how to tap into it, and you have to know what that looks like. I mean, music is magic, art is magic. There's a real transmutative energy of creation in the world that we get to take part in, and it's a beautiful thing. So I am exploding with ideas. I'm going to try. There's a million things I'd like to talk about, but I decided what I would focus on next, what makes logical sense to me based on our previous discussions, is talk on value and validation, or validation and value, however you want to see it. In the last video, I talked a little bit, and again, we're in the broader context of trying to discover who we are. We're asking that question, who am I? We're trying to dig into our core memories and find our emotive self and sit with there and reacquaint ourselves with it. The ego has cleaved away our shadow self, and we're trying to find that lost little kid in the corner so we can pick him up and put him back into ourselves with pure love and acceptance, and with that, we can move forward. And as one of my examples in the last video, I talked about writing a story for my mom that I was super proud of. And I gave it to her, and rather than say, oh, what a great story, what a lovely thing, how magical, she just corrected it grammatically in the spelling errors and handed it back to me, and how that made me feel. So what that is validation, okay? And so we seek validation from others when we cannot validate ourselves. So sit with that for a minute. We seek validation from other people when we cannot validate ourselves. What we want, and what a whole person can do, is to validate themselves, right? You say, I made this piece of art, I like it, it's pretty, there you go. That's it. You did it for the sake of doing it. If you run to your parents to make sure that's a refrigerator-worthy picture, and they're like, oh, that's supposed to be me? You made me a little fat, son. You're seeking outside validation. You didn't get it. And you're opening yourself up to being emotionally wounded. So it's kind of interesting in the sense that the body is trying to protect you, and the mind is trying to protect you from pain, from suffering, which I said from the beginning is an essential part of life that we have to accept. Suffering is growth. We have to engage in that suffering, right? But we're animals, and we have these Maslowian needs of survival and comfort. So we our natural physical state, our natural state is to avoid pain and suffering. We don't want to be cold, we don't want to be hungry, we don't want to be punched in the face, and we don't want to be heartbroken. So we try to protect ourselves. And that's what the ego's big job is, right? I said he's your worldly representative in a lot of ways. He's the one going out there and going, "Oh, yes, I went to MIT and I have all these degrees and I have all these certifications and I have 10 years of experience. And I did not crap myself in gym class in the 7th grade. That surely did not happen." You see what I mean? Like, you're trying to polish yourself so much that you're hiding these deep, dark secrets within yourself. And because of that, you're inherently not living within your truth. You're living within a lie. And so when you seek validation from other people, when you are not able to generate it yourself, you're saying, I can't look to myself. It's what I said about like an incomplete person looking for another partner to become whole. You're looking for an answer to make you whole. You're looking for someone outside of you to tell you, "Hey, you stupid chipmunk, get out of this girl." I gotta deal with these stupid chipmunks. Apologies. I'm just gonna let it roll. But just so you know, I'm constantly wrestling with chipmunks in this garage. Anyways, I'm not gonna let Theodore break my peace over here. I am just going to go back to what I was saying. Anyways, so if you cannot validate yourself, you're always going to look to these externalities to be your source of validation. And they may be there, they may not be there. But if you're always looking somewhere else and you can't generate it within yourself, well, you're inherently going to be incomplete. You're always going to have this weird emotional hunger going on. Will you get out? Sorry, 1 second. Get out of here, you stupid chipmunk. Drina. Chipmunk. Okay, I assigned my German Shepherd to take care of the chipmunk. See, and I'm leaving this raw because this is who I am, and I'm not into super production values, as you may have noticed. I'm just proud. Hopefully, this is the first one where I've actually got a title card up. But like, I don't really care about the marketing and the presentation. I care about you hearing the material, and if you're laughing at me looking like a fool wrestling with a chipmunk, well, just call that a bonus. Okay, so not to get too distracted. So you're always looking for that external validation because, again, you're not a complete self, right? And you're filling that love hole, right, with compliments. You're being needy. And what is more, sexy? What's more appealing than someone with confidence? Someone who can just walk in and say, "I know who I am, and I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you don't. Here I stand." And this is what I'm all about. We love those people. We envy those people. Those people aren't the needy ones going, "Does this outfit look okay? Did I say the right thing?" Don't. 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 Just be aligned to your own truth. Feel more confident in trusting that gut, that emotive self. Be more aligned and connected to it. And say, in my gut, I know this is the right thing. And I don't care what they say. I don't care what the logical arguments are. I'm going to accept my self-value. I'm going to accept that I am worth something. And that because of that, I have a sovereignty over myself in which I am willing to say no. Or to say yes. Whatever it may be, but it has to come from a place of truth. Every time that you're validating yourself or you're seeking validation from the outside, what is happening is that's your incomplete self. Just it's hungry. It's hungry, it's hungry, it's hungry. It's looking for completeness, and only the kind of completeness that reincorporation of the shadow self and your truth will ever truly fulfill. But in the meantime, we get those snacks, we get that filler just to try to satiate us so that we can go through another day. So be careful about validation. And, you know, this isn't a call for everyone to just go out and be a jerk to everybody else. I'm not saying just march down the street and, you know, slap people in the face and, you know, be a jerk and then be like, I don't need your approval or validation. This is who I am. I am the Uberman. The Ubermensch, whatever Nietzsche's thing was, right? You can, but that's not it either. The cool thing about the spiritual journey that you'll find is they go in line. So when you no longer need to validate yourself, when you're to a point where you've reincorporated your shadow self, what also happens is you no longer have that need for control of others. You no longer have to be arrogant. You no longer have anything to prove. So negative behaviors and actions that are really designed to pull someone's energy out to fill yourself, like control over a person, whether it's financially or in a relationship or at work. You know, you're their boss and you don't have much control in your life, but you have this one peon you can stick your thumb on. You won't feel that need anymore because you won't have to say to yourself, am I a strong enough boss? Am I a good enough partner? Am I a firm enough father? Am I whatever? Because you just know, and you live in that truth, and in that truth there's comfort, and you can breathe and you can relax and you can take the volume down a little bit. And in those moments when you are chill and you are calm, you reach this level of tranquility where you end up being very empathetic. You wind up feeling for others. You wind up wanting to give, and you wind up wanting to expel that love. Because again, once you reintegrate the shadow self, the love hole is full. It's got nowhere to go but for love to go out. So that's it on validation. So the next time, and I'll say this too, like, I've always been one who has sought validation for everything I've done. I'm an only child, and I always wanted mommy and daddy to be proud. But then that transferred to my teachers, that need transferred to my bosses. Like, I had to be the best boy in the company for my boss. Not for myself, not for the job, not for anyone else, but so that my boss, like my parent, would give me a cookie for doing a good job. And, you know, I didn't really care about salary or benefits or like rewards or vacations or company trips. All I really cared about was the right kind of pat on the head and to be told that I was a good boy. And that was it. And how many companies and how many organizations have you worked for in this world that they can't even give you that modicum of decency and respect, right? And so it's hard. So you always wind up chasing it. And then what happens is this leads to obsessive compulsive type disorders, which can lead into like perfectionism type disorders. And I am loaded with both, right? And I'm trying to unravel all those and say, done enough. Thus the channel. Thus me just spitting a video out there and saying, this is me, don't care, not editing it, chipmunk running all over me. Like, I don't care how rough it looks. I don't care if the dog's barking and stuff in the background. I just don't care. Because for me, it's about the message. And if I let the perfect become the enemy of the good, I will never get it out there because it will never be perfect enough. It'll never be done enough. It'll never be good enough for everyone in the world to give me the perfect level of validation. Right now, there's someone watching this video going, you suck. You're an idiot. You look stupid. Why are you doing this from a garage? This isn't cool. Whatever. I'm going to go watch a reaction video or some crap. And that's fine, you know, because you know what? If you don't have to be validated by everybody, you don't have to be liked by everybody either. And the fact is, no one's going to like you. Not everyone is going to like you in this world. Half the people are and half the people aren't. It's just the way it is. And that's okay. Because the people that don't like you, you don't want around you. The worst thing to do is be fake, seek external validation, and surround you with people who hate you. And then you're constantly wearing a mask, acting like someone you're not. And you're always feeling de-energized when you're hanging out with these people because it's so much work to just pretend you're somebody you're not just so you can hang out with people who hate you. And we all do that all the time. Why? You know? It's okay if people don't like you. There's a lot of people I don't like. There's a lot of people I think are terrible. I still love them. I'm trying to accept and to learn to love. And you can, like, you love your child, but you might not approve of their behavior. They might write and draw on the wall. You love the child, you disapprove of the behavior. So there's a lot of people in this world. I love them for the fact that they're humans. I love that they're part of the universe. But they're terrible people, and I don't want to invite them in my sphere, and I don't want their negativity in my life, and that's okay. So the second part of this, again, like all of these topics, it dovetails a little bit into validation. And it's one of the actual triggers for me that started this journey 2 years ago. So when I lost my job and I went to that executive coach and I was doing all those exercises, one of the things that they had me do, they're trying to help you find your personal value, your value, your value. And I previously had an executive coach talk about my value. My value? My value. You're going to stick a price tag on me? And how much does that price tag say? What is my value? So start asking yourself this question. See how triggering this is. I know you're probably mired in the lions. You just told me to ask who I am. I thought I knew. I'm halfway there, and now I'm more confused than ever. And you throw me a question of what's my value? Well, if I don't know who I am, then how do I know what my value is? Well, they kind of go part and parcel, don't they? Once you know who you are, you know your value. Once you know your value, you have a sense of who you are. But I am a skeptic. I am a logical, rational person. And again, for as much as I talk about spiritualism and, philosophy and psychology and all this stuff now, I went through it with a very agnostic, atheistic mindset, and I really drilled it first because I'm a very rational, skeptical person. And I just don't know how any of this works. So I'm thinking of my own value, and I'm thinking of it from a dark place. What is my value? Well, around $136,000 a year, something like that. As an senior operations manager, that's my value. $136,000 a year. But I have no job, therefore I am worth nothing. I'm a ward of the state. I'm on Medicaid. I need some public assistance just to exist right now. So my value is in the negative. So from a monetary perspective, I'm a sinkhole. I'm not worth anything. In fact, I'm a drag on society. So it's not about the money I make. And if you only look at your value based on the money you can make, that means your children are worthless and your retired parents are worthless. So get rid of them because they're just a drag. Get rid of your kids. They're not making money. Get them in the mines. The children yearn for the mines. Get them in the mines. They play Minecraft. Get them in the mines. No? Okay, so there must be some kind of value other than just what you can produce from your job. Well, easy. Chinese, like, organ harvesting market, underground, illegal Squid Game style, right? Okay, so you could probably get, depending on how healthy and fit you are, between $50,000 and like $125,000, depending on what organs they can get out of you, what shape they're in, all that good stuff. So maybe that's the value of a human being, how much they can harvest your organs for to give to somebody else. Well, that doesn't seem right either, because they must have value if they can afford it. And if you're generating that, there's value in continuing life, sure, but then what about my value while I'm still here? Well, you could melt the body down and get the elements and the minerals and the core components of you out. I think that used to be like $10.67. It's probably somewhere more around $17-23 now. Inflation is what it is. So hey, your corpse is worth about $20 if we boil it down. Still, you want to believe that you have value outside of all those physicalities, right? That you bring within yourself some sort of thing that's more than that. And a big problem of this is you are still seeing yourself as a thing in the universe. Your value comes from the fact that you are the universe. Does the entire universe have value? Well, I mean, it's got to have some. If there was no universe, there would be no concept of value. there would be nothing in the universe to have value. So surely, in the entire universe, there is a thing somewhere that has some degree of value. And since you are inherently a part of the universe, again, you don't get stuck in traffic, you are traffic. So you are a part of this universe. You are not alone, you are in it. You are not alone, you're not a fish in a tank. You are a part of it. You're part of it. And in my deconstruction of this, I kept deconstructing and deconstructing and deconstructing because I really believed I had no value, especially outside of my job. And that's the American capitalist puritanical ethos that's been drilled into us since elementary school. You go to school to be a productive worker. You go to college to be a manager of productive workers, and you produce items that other people buy. And if you do that well enough, you get a house, 2 cars, 2 kids, a dog, the whole 9 yards. The promise of the American consumerist ideal. But it all goes back to this puritanical ideal of you must work. Only through work do you have value. So I kept deconstructing myself, until I got to a point where I could not see my value as a sick monkey floating around on a rock in space as being any more valuable than a gorilla or a dolphin or a dog or a horse or a cow or a pig or a chicken or a rat or a cockroach or a mosquito. We all have a role to play in the ecosystem. We all have a role to play in the food chain of life. So why? Why should my particular instance of the universe, why should my particular existence mean more than a dog or a cow or a dolphin or a tree? I don't know. And further, I broke myself down until I realized in the grand scheme of the universe, I am as insignificant as a single grain of sand. And in that, I found great liberation. Because there's no such thing as sand, really. If you look at it, it's all just really tiny individual rocks, different silica rocks. I'm not a geologist. Limestone, maybe there's some made out of crushed obsidian or whatever. But each is a tiny, 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 tiny individual rock. We look at a beach and we think sand, but if you look at one particular granule of sand, they're all like these tiny individual things. And like snowflakes, they all have different shapes. They all came into formation at different times. They all experience different environmental conditions through their existence. So each grain of sand is individual and unique in its own right. And, one grain of sand seems insignificant unless you get it in your eye, and then it can be really disturbing and take a whole person down, right? And if you were alone in the universe, you'd be right. Who cares about one insignificant grain of sand? You're nothing. However, I realized without that individual grain of sand, you cannot have a handful of sand. Because it takes all those little grains of sand to make a handful of sand, or to make a bucket of sand, or to make a whole beach of sand. So without all the individual components, without all the little pieces, you wouldn't have all the sand that makes up the beach. And everyone loves the beach. So that's it. You're part of the great cosmic clockwork of the universe. The problem is you're a spring and you don't know what time it is. You're a gear, you're a cog. You don't know what time the clock is reading, but that doesn't mean you aren't super consequential in making it operate correctly and on time. You have a purpose just from the fact that you merely exist. So this reminds me of a Buddhist story that originally, it was a lesson that came out of I want to say he was a Vietnamese monk by the name of Thich Nhat Hanh. And I hope I pronounced that correctly. I'm not great at the Vietnamese. It's one of my favorite Buddhist lessons ever. He talked about existence and our existence in humanity, and the individual instances of us are like the waves of the ocean. There is only the ocean. There is only the water. There's only the universal one. But you can see waves on it. They come and they go. They rise and they fall, but the ocean is eternal. We are like the waves on that ocean. We pop up, we exist for a while, we fade away, but we melt into the universal oneness of the universe. And it's that connection and acceptance, and some of it, honestly, at the end of the day, no matter how rational and into psychology and philosophical and rational I can be about all this, at the end of the day, the universe hides behind faith. And you just have to take a ridiculous leap of faith that says, yeah, I exist in this universe. I have value in this universe. I have purpose in this universe. And I believe there, like the clock, there's a reason for you. Like the clock, it needs you. It needs you. You're a core essential part of the universe. So even though you're as insignificant as a grain of sand, and let your problems be even less significant, let your problems be the problems of a grain of sand, insignificant in the course of the universe. But see yourself as the gear of the clock, without which the universe could not function. And that's where we sit, at the crossroads of value and validation. You don't need to be validated by anyone. Validate yourself. I'll validate you. You're human. You deserve to exist. You deserve love. You don't deserve that bullshit your fucking boss is laying down on you. Sorry, YouTube censors. Don't care. People need to hear this. They're a jerk. That's nonsense. The job is nonsense. You know it's nonsense. They know it's nonsense. Everyone's stressed because they know I have nonsense jobs, and nonsense jobs are going away fast. Everyone feels pressure. Everyone feels fear. That's where all the anger's coming from. It's not about you. It's not about you. And what you want to be happy is to just be able to validate yourself. You want to be like the Blind Melon video, right? With the little girl in the bee costume. And she was like an awkward girl. She had a weird body shape. She had a stupid bee costume. And she tap danced. And everyone laughed at her everywhere she goes. Until she found her people. Until she found her place. And that's what we're all doing. We're trying to find our place in the universe. And not only the place amongst other people or a physicality, but a place within ourselves. And again, the spiritual quest, the spiritual journey is a long one. It's a challenging one. And it's not about happiness. Happiness is a temporary emotion like gas. Okay? It comes and it goes. Sadness too. Comes and it goes. There's reasons why we hold on to sadness and let go of happiness, which I'll talk about some other time. But know that that's not the point of life. It's not about being happy. It's about being aligned. It's about knowing your true purpose. And when you know your true purpose, you can go forward in life with your head held high, knowing that you are right exactly in the place that you need to be at all times. You become Gandalf. A wizard does not arrive late. They do not arrive early. They arrive exactly when you're supposed to. And if you're listening to this and the universe guided you out of everyone you could have possibly listened to today, and you listened all the way to the end of this crazy video, why? Because there's something I'm saying that's resonating in your mind, something that's bigger than me, something that's bigger than you, because we are all one. We are all connected. Whether you see it as the causality of the universe and all the billiard balls clacking into each other that brought us to this instant, or whether it's a true cosmic force by like a creator with an intelligence bringing you here. The fact is, it's irrelevant. You're here and you're hearing what I'm saying. And why are you hearing what I'm saying? Because you need to. And somewhere deep in yourself, you're like, I'm sick of asking other people to tell me that I'm special. I'm sick of other people trying to tell me I look nice. I'm happy with who I am, and I'm just going to do what I want to do. And as long as I love others and I just have a focus of what is possible in this world, then it's all going to be okay. And I hope that for you today. So go out in the sunshine if you got it where you are. Hang your head high and know I don't have to answer to anybody. I mean, you still got to answer your boss. I mean, play the game. But know inside your heart that when they tell you that TPS report sucks, it's like, yeah, of course it sucks. I ain't going to put work into that. That's beneath me. because I know my true value is X. I know my true value is Y. I know that what I'm doing here is a lesson. It's a temporary moment in my life, and I'm to endure this pain because life loves me. It wants me to grow. You learn how to grow through suffering. It's throwing me these sufferings because it loves me so much. It wants me to be a better person, just like a parent. Just like a parent, when a kid's doing something stupid and they kind of let it go so that you learn, they're not going to let you go too far. They're going to pull you back if it gets too serious, but they're laughing at you a little bit and they're watching you make that mistake so you learn it for yourself. The problem is, if you don't learn the lesson, if you don't take the time to be present with where you are at the moment and ask yourself, what am I doing? Why am I here? How does this impact me? What is the greater purpose of this? The lesson will be lost, and life will just dish it up to you in another form in the near future. So with that, I again want to thank you. Like, comment, subscribe as we do in the YouTube world. And other than that, fellow traveler, fellow seeker, my dear listener, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I can't wait to get the next video out. And I hope you have a great day with you and yours. Bye, everybody.